Have you ever watched the person you love become a stranger right before your eyes? For me, it started with the blue glow of a phone screen at 2 a.m. 15 years of marriage, 15 years of an open book life, and suddenly her phone was a fortress. Sarah was angled away from me in our bed, the screen casting shadows across her face as her thumb moved in a frantic secret dance. I asked who she was texting, my voice thick with sleep. She jumped, clutching the phone to her chest like a startled animal. "Just work," she'd snapped, her tone laced with a venom I hadn't heard in years. "Can't a person have some privacy?" That one word, privacy, hung in the air of our Chicago brownstone, cold and sharp. It was a word that had never existed between us. In that moment, watching her hide the screen, I knew something was deeply, fundamentally broken. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The change was subtle at first. Dinners with the girls that ran later and later. Business trips that popped up with only a day's notice. When I'd call, she'd often let it go to voicemail, texting back hours later with a flimsy excuse about being in a meeting. The woman who once shared every detail of her day now spoke in vague generalities. I felt a chasm opening between us, a silent, creeping distance that left me feeling cold and alone in our king-sized bed on North Dearborn Street. One evening, I found a receipt from the Park Hyatt in her coat pocket. It was for a single Tuesday afternoon for 2 glasses of champagne and a charcuterie board. She'd told me she was in a budget meeting in the Loop all day. The lie was so blatant, so careless, it felt like a slap in the face. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, the pieces of my life rearranging themselves into a picture I didn't want to see. The final nail in the coffin was her phone. She started carrying it everywhere, even into the shower. One night, she fell asleep on the couch after a few too many glasses of wine, the phone lying face down on the cushion beside her. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knew it was a violation, a line I'd never crossed, but I had to know. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. Her password, once our anniversary, had been changed. I tried our son's birthday. Nothing. Then, on a whim, I typed in 0812, August 12th, the date on the hotel receipt. It clicked open. My breath caught in my throat. There he was, a man named Mark. His picture was smug, a guy in a tailored suit leaning against a sports car. The messages were a sickening novel of their affair. "Can't wait to have you to myself again," one read. "Last night was incredible." Another said, "Your husband is a fool. You deserve a real man." They talked about our finances, my work schedule, my predictability. They laughed at me. I sank to the floor, the cold hardwood a stark contrast to the fire of humiliation burning through my veins. It felt like the world had tilted off its axis. The woman I had built my entire life with was a stranger, and our home was nothing but a stage for her deception. For a week, I was a ghost. I moved through the motions, work, parenting, pretending. The breakdown happened in my car, parked in a desolate garage off Lower Wacker Drive. The city's hum, a distant drone. All the weight of it all just crushed me. The laughter, the betrayal, the sheer arrogance of it. I slammed my fists against the steering wheel, a raw, guttural scream tearing from my throat, the sound swallowed by the concrete walls. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was erased. My past was a lie, and my future was a blank, terrifying void. But as the sobs subsided, something else took root in the emptiness. A cold, hard clarity. The tears stopped. The shaking stopped. The man who had been broken was gone, and in his place, something new and dangerous began to form. They thought I was a fool. They thought I was predictable. Fine. I would be the most strategic, ruthless fool they had ever met. Revenge wasn't just an option. It was the only thing I had left. The plan began with a whisper. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who operated out of a dusty office in River North. I didn't need him to prove the affair. I had that in spades. I needed him to document everything. The long lunches at Gibson's, the weekend trips to Lake Geneva, she claimed, were work retreats. The late-night entries into Mark's high-rise condo in the Gold Coast. While he gathered the visual proof, I started my own war. I opened a new bank account and began methodically moving funds, just small amounts at first, masking them as business expenses. I contacted a forensic accountant to trace the money Sarah had been siphoning from our joint accounts to fund her little escapades. Then, I met with the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known as the Shark. I laid out the evidence, the texts, the photos, the financial records. Her eyes lit up. "She's not just getting a divorce," the lawyer said with a chilling smile. "She's getting an annihilation." The trap was set for Sarah's 40th birthday party. It was an extravagant affair she'd planned for months, held at a swanky rooftop bar overlooking the city skyline. All our friends, her family, her colleagues, everyone was there. Mark, of course, was in attendance as a friend of the family. He stood there, drink in hand, oozing smug confidence, occasionally sharing a secret triumphant glance with my wife. They felt untouchable. I played the part of the doting husband, giving a heartfelt speech about our years together, my voice steady, my hands not shaking. As I finished my toast, I said, "And I have one more surprise for you, Sarah. A little film I put together, a tribute to our love." The lights dimmed, and the large projector screen flickered to life. But it wasn't a montage of family vacations. It was a photo of the Park Hyatt receipt. Then a picture of Sarah and Mark kissing outside the hotel. Then another and another. Text messages scrolled across the screen, their vile words echoing in the stunned silence. The final shot was a crystal-clear photo of them entering his condo, her hand trailing down his back. The room was utterly silent. I could hear Sarah's sharp intake of breath. Then the whispers started, growing into a horrified murmur. Her father's face was a mask of fury. Her boss looked at her with pure disgust. She turned to me, her face pale, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and hatred. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I leaned in close, my own voice a low, cold whisper. "Thought I was a fool? You were wrong." Just then, a man in a cheap suit served her with divorce papers right there in the middle of the crowd. The public humiliation was absolute. She lost everything. The divorce was brutal. The morality clause in our prenup, combined with the mountain of evidence of infidelity and financial fraud, meant she walked away with nothing. Her firm fired her. Her family disowned her. Mark, the real man, vanished the second the scandal broke, terrified of being associated with the mess. The last I heard, she was working as a waitress in some forgotten diner out in the suburbs, her designer clothes replaced by a stained apron. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a permanent look of defeat. Sometimes late at night I walk past our old brownstone. The lights are on. A new family lives there now, their laughter echoing from the windows. I don't feel triumph or joy or even satisfaction. I just feel quiet. The fire of revenge has burned out, and all that's left is the cold, empty space where a life used to be. I won, but it cost me everything I ever was. The end.